All right, guys. Should we get on to the what's probably going to be the meat of this episode, which is our review of the Snyder Cut?
Let's do it.
Let's move on.
Okay, let me bring up my notes here. All right. What?
It's just like Aquaman takes his shirt off all the way down.
Yeah, we'll get into that. All right, so the official synopsis reads as this. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, determined to ensure Superman's ultimate sacrifice was not in vain, Bruce Wayne aligns forces with Diana Prince with plans to recruit a team of metahumans to protect the world from an approaching threat of catastrophic proportions. The task proves more difficult than Bruce imagined, as each of the recruits must face the demons of their own past to transcend that which has held them back, allowing them to come together finally, forming an unprecedented league of heroes. Now united, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and The Flash may be too late to save the planet from Steppenwolf, Desaad, and Darkseid and their dreadful intentions. The movie, of course, directed by Zack Snyder, comes in at a paltry 4 hours and 2 minutes. And let's see. Anything else here? The movie stars Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, and Ray Fisher. All right, so before we get into spoilers, what did you guys just think? Kind of your overall spoiler-free impressions.
Yeah, I liked it. It was like on its own, it was an okay movie, but compared to what it was when we saw Joss Whedon's version, I was very happy with it. So yeah, thumbs up.
We didn't all see Joss Whedon's version.
Yeah,
I'm glad you didn't, just because it'll give this review a little bit of different context.
I would have been much more hesitant to watch, I think. Like, I was hesitant already, but it was definitely decent. It was all right. Better than a lot of the DC stuff they've pumped out.
Yeah, it having seen the original, like, I think my take on it might be, a little swayed by that, just because the original cut is so terrible that, like, this seems a lot better in comparison to that. I will say the movie, it has its problems. Like, I think, like you kind of alluded to, I don't know how well it stands on its own. It kind of, and we'll get into this, but it kind of has some stuff that sets up a sequel that most likely will never happen, and so you kind of got that too. But definitely more enjoyable than the original cut by a country mile. All right. I came up with this article that talks about all the differences between the original cut and the Snyder cut, which I figured I'll kind of go through, but and kind of because what I like about it is it kind of goes in chronological order with the chapters and stuff. So I figure as we come across this stuff, we can kind of talk about it. So the opening of the movie is completely different from the 2017 release. So the Snyder Cut, it opens up on Superman dying in Batman v Superman, and basically, I guess, like, his dying screams is what wakes up the mother boxes.
yeah.
Is that what you got out of it?
Yeah.
That's how I kind of understood
It
it.
like travels the whole entire world.
Yeah. So basically, the original cut opened up on, like, some kids, like, videotaping Superman, but most of Superman's scenes in that movie, they had to digitally erase the mustache Henry Cavill had for Mission Impossible, so it looks terrible. And it's amazing that they put the movie out in that shape. Everything with Superman, and it just looks weird and terrible for the most part. Let's see. Oh, and also, and this is one thing, like, I kind of remember, but they took it out completely. So the other movie, after the Superman bit, it opens up with Batman on the, like, rooftops of Gotham, and there's a parademon, and it was I remember this part confused me because, like, the parademon ends up getting, like, splattered against a wall, and it somehow leaves, like, the impression of the mother box, and I never understood how that worked or it was very weird. It was a scene that to me didn't really make sense. Let's see. Oh, Joss Whedon no longer has a screenwriting credit on the movie. Well, that makes sense because they basically took out all the little scenes that he wrote in himself. Okay, so part one, it was Don't Count on It, Batman. So it opens up with that meeting between Batman and Aquaman. I guess in this Snyder Cut, that scene's expanded a little bit, but I think it's pretty similar. So since we're talking about Aquaman, what did you guys think of Jason Momoa's performance overall?
I thought it was good. Yeah, I like his Aquaman.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
We did think it was funny though that like two scenes early on in the movie, like he's wearing a shirt and he just like takes it off. He just
Well, the
just
first
to
time
get that
kind of makes
woman
sense.
boner.
Like maybe he was in the village and had a shirt on, but the second one, like in the ocean, he doesn't have a shirt at any time. So he comes out. He has a shirt on, but he's only out for like a short period of time. So where does the shirt come from? And then like before he goes back in, you get to watch him peel it back off again. I was
Is
kind
that
of like,
the one
what
where
the?
he like litters in that scene too, right? He like takes
Yeah,
the
he
glass
does.
Oh, yeah, he
bottle
throws a
and-
bottle in the ocean. like, wait, aren't you just protecting me?
Yeah,
He's like, I don't give a
don't
shit
you
about
live
this.
there?
He's like, I haven't had my single movie yet. I'm a piece of shit.
I still need to redeem myself for this.
Yeah, I guess he's still edgy, a little rough around the edges.
You know what I noticed in this movie is like I think Batman has basically given up his secret identity because not only is he very open and telling all the metahumans that he's Bruce Wayne, but in that very scene, like him and Aquaman walk past these villagers and Aquaman mentions that he's Batman, and I'm like, fuck Aquaman, like you don't give a fuck about it.
Yeah, I mean it's a remote village.
That's true. He's like, they don't speak.
Be like, yeah, it's just a rumor when it gets back to everybody else at that point.
Let's see. There was a scene of Bruce Wayne flying around in a helicopter, and he has a scene with Alfred that was new. In the Snyder Cut, Zack Snyder gives himself a really small cameo where he can be seen in a coffee shop, along with a little bit more footage of Lois Lane that wasn't in the original.
Yeah, there was a lot hinging around Lois, like
Yeah.
she's the reason, or what was it?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, let's talk about this.
She's the key.
Yeah, the
she's
key.
the key.
So
So then
in-
she's like a very minor character in pretty much the whole thing, and just like has a few boring scenes.
But they set up like an evil Superman.
It feels like there's going to be more, but
Yeah.
it's
So yeah, let's talk about that. So in Batman versus Superman,
It
there's
didn't
this
pay
scene.
off in
There's
this
this
movie.
scene where Bruce is at his computer, and he like falls asleep, I guess, and he has this vision of the Flash, and the Flash. Well, he has that vision of like the apocalyptic times that's shown at the epilogue of this movie, and Flash comes through, and he's like, Lois is the key, or whatever. And then there's a part we'll get to at the end of this movie where Flash goes back in time, but that's not the time apparently where he does that. So they set up this thing where Lois Lane is the key,
yeah, through multiple movies now.
but I'm thinking that it would really come to fruition in I guess the sequel that they would make to this movie, because
Right, because basically it wasn't Bruce who like went to Lois and like tried to put her on the right path. It was the Mindhunter, or the Martian
Yeah, Martian Manhunter.
Manhunter, yeah. So it's like Bruce wasn't even a part of that, so I guess the mystery continues.
well, I think what they're going for is there's a comic book called Injustice, which is kind of based on the Injustice video game. And basically the storyline is the Joker kills Lois Lane, who's also pregnant, and which just causes Superman to basically go off the deep end and become like a fascist asshole. And
I always thought he was kind of a fascist asshole.
but that's what it seems like is happening in this like epilogue universe is so I'm thinking Lois Lane is the key because she probably died, which is what sent Superman where he went. So
So that's the one in the end with Batman and Joker talking.
yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
that's a very different. That's almost like a different universe.
So what I'm thinking is if they did another one, they would almost have like an Avengers go back or prevent Lois from dying type
Okay.
of storyline. It's my guess, but I'm not sure. The next different. Okay, so now we're to the where Wonder Woman's introduction, where she's fending off the terrorists. It says Wonder Woman enters the same as she did. It's basically the same, but she removes the bomb from the building instead of merely launching it up towards the sky. And also, it has that scene. I think you were talking to me about it yesterday. You thought it was kind of cheesy, where there's a little girl and she's like, "Can I be like you one day?" And she's like, "You can be anything you want to be,"
which is like a lie. It's also like that. I don't know. They feel like they always need to like shoehorn in some feminist, like piece.
It seemed forced.
It was forced, yeah.
It's just kind of silly, like yeah. If as long as you're an Amazon who's basically immortal, you can be just
god.
like me.
Yeah.
I remember one thing we noticed too is like, I think the terrorists say that the bomb can blow up like 4 square blocks or something.
It's a suitcase,
but it doesn't seem like it can. Yeah, the explosive is in one suit because, like, if it was linked to other bombs, okay,
Yeah.
but it detonates and it's just the one bomb. So
that could be like 4 Claymore mines or something.
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any way in fuck that bomb would take out 4 blocks. They totally changed Steppenwolf's look. You guys can kind of see here in the. It was very different in the 17 version, and this version has all those like spikes and everything.
I know we were watching. I asked, "Who's this?" And you were like Steppenwolf. I was like, well, "Is this guy fucking with me?" Steppenwolf.
That's his name.
I was like, "How'd you think of this on the fly?"
You thought I was just making that up? Like,
who fucking makes up Steppenwolf?
Yes, it doesn't sound like a 17th century like opera composer or something like that.
I think Jack Kirby made most of those Fourth World characters, so probably him.
Jack Kirby.
But that did look like something. Like his design looked like it would be a pain in the ass to animate because he's got all those little spikes that are constantly like changing direction and stuff. The next difference. Okay, so now we're at that scene where the Amazons and the Parademons all fight over the mother box.
Right.
Okay.
I got confused there.
And I guess this version is it's a little longer. The whole scene where the building, I think the building collapsed in the original, but it didn't show it like falling into the ocean. And they're kind of mourning the Amazons. So that was a little bit longer. Okay, chapter 2, The Age of Heroes. Okay, yeah, this one was totally different. A scene now explains how Wonder Woman knows about the mother box. So basically, this is where the Amazons, they like fire this arrow.
Of Artemis.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it like, when I was watching this, when I was watching it, I was like trying to remember what was in the original cut, and I'm like, God, this doesn't look familiar at all. And that's because it was, totally not in the original. So yeah, they launch this arrow, and it like goes to this place, and like it causes like a small like, I guess fire. Does that fire not go out? Is that how it? I don't know. Anyway, Diana is aware of it.
Right. That's another like silly thing. They launched it for her to realize. And it goes to this like chosen, I don't know if it's like a temple or some
Yeah,
spot.
it was like a temple.
But then the way she figures it out is she's like accidentally watching the news, and they're like, "Oh, this happened."
yeah, basically.
Like, would they really cover this fire that
Right.
thoroughly?
So she goes to wherever that is, and she finds the secret elevator down in this thing, and she discovers this like kind of mural that shows that Darkseid had visited a long time before. Next difference. Oh, the White Stripes song "Icky Thump" is no longer in Aquaman's whiskey scene. They replaced it with some other song I've never heard of. There's a scene with Willem Dafoe between him and Aquaman. Apparently, that was totally cut out of the original cut. Although I don't know if that added very much. It was just, I guess,
no idea.
kind of setting up the Aquaman movie where he was talking about, you need to take your rightful place and that kind of thing. This part I didn't even remember. Apparently, Robin Wright's character shows up in a flashback scene.
just for like a second during that battle between the Amazons and or between all the people.
Yeah, and the
Dark side.
Aquaman's people and the Atlanteans, the Amazons, and the humans.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the one thing. So I remember this scene was in the original, but they cut it way down because I remember like Darkseid comes down, and I was like, I didn't think Darkseid was in the original at all.
Steppenwolf.
Yeah, and apparently it wasn't. So in the original, that was Steppenwolf in that scene instead of Darkseid. So I guess that scene was kind of cool, that whole battle sequence where Darkseid comes down and they're all fighting, parademons against, like the three races of people. And like, I don't remember, Zeus or somebody like almost kills Darkseid by like plunging a hammer through his shoulder.
He gets like carried off like he's almost dead or something.
Yeah. So that was, and I liked that they had a Green Lantern in that scene. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing I don't like about this Justice League movie overall is I liked Marvel did it right, where they had all the characters have their single movie. We knew all their backstories, and then they put them together, and that's how they should have done it here. But I also think like a proper Justice League should have a Green Lantern. I don't care which one it is, but I think they should have a Green Lantern on board.
Probably eventually, yeah.
Well,
but they did like put in a lot of like people's backstories in this one, which is probably why it's 4 hours long.
They did, yeah. So next we're to chapter 3, Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. So the Flash gets a new introduction. So this is this was completely cut out of the original. This is where he's trying to get the dog at the pet shop, and like him and Iris West kind of have that look between each other. And then, the clumsy trucker drops his hamburger.
And is so focused on getting it.
Yeah, I know.
He's like, I need that dirty burger.
Yeah. It's even more flavorful now.
Has it been 5 seconds?
But this scene made me laugh. So like, the truck hits her car and she goes flying. So Flash, of course, runs out. And like he's in the process of saving her in slow motion, but there's also that hot dog cart. And like first he grabs a hot dog, and I'm like, is he gonna put that in her mouth? I'm like, there's some weird shit going on.
Dirty things Flash does in that microsecond you can't see him.
Yeah, just grabbing a hot dog and putting it in your pocket.
Yeah,
like, this is like.
Yeah, too.
Where's this guy's mind at? Like, he's like, he doesn't even like. He's not like focused. He's like, yeah, I can take a little detour here.
That's the other thing. When he first put it in the pocket, like I didn't know he was going to feed it to the dog. So I'm like, is this like some bitch going to eat a pocket hot dog?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Is he like really poor? He's like, free hot dogs.
So that was a little bit weird. Let's see. Okay, you were just talking about like people's, origin. So there's like a ton more of Cyborg in this movie than the original cut, and a ton more with his father as well. Yeah. So yeah, basically it goes through his whole, backstory with the football game and his, mother in the car crash, him in the car crash. None of that was in the original.
Yeah, he's kind of like the central character to the story, like in a way, right? Because like he's the one who can separate the boxes. And,
yeah, he ends up playing a pretty major role.
Yeah, I can see why he was upset with the other cut of the film.
Well, yeah. So I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but the guy that plays Cyborg in this, Ray Fisher, he had like a big. Kind of brouhaha with Warner Brothers because he claimed not only was he unhappy, I think, it probably stems mostly from all the scenes being cut, but he claimed that Joss Whedon, along with some others, also, I think he basically claimed there's some racist shit going on when Joss Whedon took over. And so then Warner Brothers launched what they called an independent investigation of the issue, and he said that it was like a bullshit investigation, and so basically, if they ever did do another movie, I don't believe would be returning
he
his
might have burned
Cyborg.
some bridges.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen. Let's see. Next, I guess his meeting with Wonder Woman was different. It says in the original version. Cyborg communicates with Wonder Woman through Batman's computer network before they meet. In the Snyder Cut, there's no back and forth. Cyborg just tells her where to meet him. Then Cyborg flies down instead of just kind of walking out of the shadows in the hoodie and the sweatpants. And Cyborg even drops an F-bomb in this version.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now, one scene I kind of liked that I don't think was in the original, and they don't mention it in this article, but there's that whole scene where, like, when he's figuring out his powers, he basically monitors that waitress who's getting evicted from her apartment, and he changes the ATM so it basically gives her like a ton of money.
All right.
I thought that was a good scene, which it doesn't mention it in this article, but if it was in the original, I think it must have been cut down. I'm not sure. So now we're to Chapter 4, Change Machine. So it mentions that in this cut, Bruce Wayne as Batman doesn't show up until 2 hours into the movie, whereas in the original they had that stupid scene up top with him and the Parademon. What'd you guys think of Batman in the movie?
I liked him. His whole plot was like to be that instigator, like who brought everybody together, like to get ready for the big fight. So he played that role fine. I didn't expect him to do too much against this powerful of an enemy.
Yeah.
I will say he shoots a lot of guns in this movie.
They had to power him up a little bit.
He's got
great
car
equalizer.
guns, Gatling guns. He's got Parademon guns. Also they had this whole subplot where, the Parademon attacked the Star Labs or whatever, and then they drew, a witness drawing of them, and then they confused that as Batman rather than the Parademon.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, that drawing looks like Batman.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay, that was intentional.
It mentions Jim Gordon here. I was telling him, I don't know if you saw it, but at the time, J.K. Simmons, who plays Jim Gordon, like, he was getting buff as fuck for this role. Did you see those pictures of him online?
No.
If you look, man, there's pictures of him with his shirt off, and he is just, like, fucking ripped. Like, he's got fucking guns. He got in, like, serious shape for this movie.
Why?
I know, he's just wearing a suit in this movie, and you can't really tell.
Thinking
But
about it,
underneath,
he was
man,
in,
he's jacked.
What was that fucking... I think it's HBO. Was it Oz? Maybe it's like Showtime. I don't know.
Oh, I think he was in that.
He was in that.
I never
he was in
saw
pretty
it.
good shape in that, I think.
Was he? Oh man, he got in
Jacked up.
Speaking of him, there's that scene with him, Batman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, all on top of the building with the thing, and it's so overdone. I'm so like I love Batman, but I hate the whole like Batman disappears without Jim Gordon noticing thing. So in this movie, they have not only Batman, but Wonder Woman, which I could maybe buy, but Cyborg, who either has to engage a jetpack or noisily clunk off.
Like there are numerous scenes where he's like clunking around.
There is no fucking way Cyborg silently moved out of frame, and then the Flash is there and is like, "Oh, they moved on you. That's rude," or whatever. I fucking hated that scene. It's so hokey and stupid. Junkie XL composed an entirely new score for the film. I think he was working on this, the original, and when it went to Joss Whedon, they got like Danny Elfman to do it. So now he got that guy back to do it. So there's a difference. Now this is a difference I didn't like. Steppenwolf has a tiny spider minion that can go on an enemy's face and basically visually show what's in their mind. I thought this thing was kind of stupid.
But I guess they had to like push the plot forward, so they had to have something like that.
Also, I remember like the guy he uses it on, like the Atlantean guy, like he throws him against this rock and he leaves like this huge blood stain, and I'm like, this guy's not dead.
Right?
His brains are like splattered all over across
He
that
does
rock.
that to everybody in the movie.
Yeah, he does.
He keeps doing that.
He fucked up a bunch of fake horses in that Amazon scene too. Let's see next. Oh, Barry's no longer scared of taking on the bad guys. In the original, Barry is frightened of Steppenwolf and the Parademons. Batman has to pull him aside for a pep talk, ultimately telling him to just focus on saving one life. And that conversation is gone, and Flash just teams up with Cyborg to get the people out.
It's time to grow up here.
Apparently, I forget about this scene, but there's a scene in the original where like Barry like awkwardly falls on top of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes from light speed to like regular speed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently they had just like this weird like scene in the original that they got rid of. It was played for laughs. Aquaman joins the fight by riding the Strikers Island sewer wave.
Yeah, I was kind of confused by how he got into the whole mess too. Like, so they were all going to like fight Steppenwolf, and then he just shows up in the tunnel when the water is breaking through.
I knew he was going to show up in the nick of time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Basically, his only thing he did in that fight was like hold back the water.
Yeah.
And he didn't even do like a great job of it. He held it back for like 5 seconds or something.
It's powerful, man.
It's a lot of water.
I also thought it was silly that like, you know, Batman apparently knew he was going to need like a spider vehicle for that scene.
Yeah.
This is like a $500 billion project. And like he's the only person working on it. No engineers, no shit, just him.
Alfred.
Oh yeah, him and Alfred. They got this.
And it seems so impractical too, because like it was slowly climbing up.
Yeah.
While water was filling the whole thing up and stuff.
I was also a little confused on like the clues that led them to that Strikers Island place, but like you just go along with it, I guess.
Well, wasn't it like they thought they put their base over like some like what was it, like a nuclear accident site or something random?
I mean, they do that, but that area there wasn't where that was.
Oh, that was something different. I'm confused.
Yeah, because the nuclear place was like in the Russia or somewhere
okay,
like
that's
that.
what I was thinking of.
And then also speaking of vehicles, there was that whole like weird subplot where like Bruce had his like plane and like Alfred couldn't get it to fly, and they mention it several times, and then at the end like Cyborg like figures out how to make it fly and they use it.
It wanted to fly.
There's also like a huge piece of exposition where Cyborg is like his backstory, where they're like, "Oh, you're gonna have so much powers, like you're not even gonna know what to do with it," and then like, yeah, I guess naturally he can take care of this. But there's also like he can fire all the nukes in the world.
Oh yeah,
And,
that's
like,
right. That's
why
right.
bother telling us that? He never uses any of that.
Well, that would end the movie premature.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. At first I thought Cyborg's powers were lame, but you know, after seeing him be able to like get bank so easily,
Yeah, they do basically show that he has godlike powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like the whole mother.
But wasn't
box
like
thing.
him knowing like the entire financial system, and he still couldn't. He didn't piece together that Bruce Wayne was Batman.
Yeah, I guess they could have had him find out that way.
Be like, yeah, I know.
But what was it? Cyborg. Oh yeah, so he. I don't know. I forgot. Damn.
Yeah.
I got high yesterday.
And you're still high now.
A little bit.
That was my suspicion.
Another big difference of the movie is not only was Darkseid not in the original, but none of his minions besides Steppenwolf were, so like Desaad. And I guess I didn't notice, but in that scene towards the end where they show Darkseid, apparently Granny Goodness is next to him as well, so she wasn't in the original.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, she doesn't sound like an intimidating character. Granny Goodness.
I mean, in the comics, she is like a very powerful and evil character. What's funny is in Superman the Animated Series, which is a very good series and is now on HBO Max, Granny Goodness is voiced by Ed Asner.
Interesting choice.
I was gonna say earlier, sorry, but how did when they were talking about Cyborg dealing with the mother boxes? How did they know like what was gonna happen with the mother box? They were like, you know, they're gonna fight you in there and they're gonna control you. You could die. I'd be like, oh, it's just technology. Who knows what could happen? Nothing.
Yeah, basically they had no fucking idea what was in there.
Yeah, they had no clue what they were getting into. He didn't know he could separate.
They're like,
that
it's
stuff.
alien technology? Well, you're good with technology, right?
Yeah,
Let's just send your ass in there.
you got this.
You'll figure it out.
Nobody else is going to do it. It's explained that Nazis found one of the 3 mother boxes at the end of World War II. So yeah, the Amazons and Atlanteans were entrusted with 2 of them, and then like the Earth people were just like, we'll just bury it.
Yeah, the Vikings were like, dig a hole, put it in.
Yep.
That's the best we got. Anytime in a fantasy show, like if you entrust something to humans, like they're the ones who fuck it up.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't for humans,
yeah.
They went to war over
it's
it.
never like the elves.
This is a small difference, but the Justice League agrees together to resurrect Superman. In the 17 cut, Bruce Wayne seems a bit like a madman, obsessed with the idea of bringing Superman back from the dead. Wonder Woman is staunchly against it at first, but then just seems to go along with the plan anyway. And then in the Snyder Cut, they kind of all come to the conclusion together that they should bring Superman back. Lois Lane stopped working at the Daily Planet after Superman's death. So I guess in the original, she was still a reporter, but just kind of doing like puff pieces. And then they said there was this stupid line of dialogue in the original where like Martha says, he says that you were the thirstiest young woman that he'd ever met. And like she corrects him and was like, hungriest. Because that was hilarious.
Gotcha. I kind of wish that Lois looked like she was going through chronic depression. So she's just like taking a vacation from work.
One thing they did do in this movie that I liked, because I remember thinking it was kind of stupid in the original. So in the original, Martha still comes to Metropolis and they have this, I guess, weird conversation here. But then Superman comes back and almost instantly, goes to Smallville, to his house, the house. And then, similar to this one, she shows up in their truck, like back to Smallville. So I was like, okay, so Superman comes back to life. He doesn't like instantly go to Martha, who is like in Metropolis. He goes all the way to Smallville, and then she has to drive there in her truck. And the thing is like, this is, a made-up universe, so, like, you never know the distance, really, but Smallville is in Kansas, and then Metropolis is basically, like, an analog for New York City. So, in the original, I was like, okay, and she drives all the way from basically New York to Kansas, to see the Return Superman for the first time when, like, he really should have just went to her in Metropolis. It just, in the original, it seemed really weird. At least here they explain it because the Martha that talks to her is revealed to be Martian Manhunter. So that, the real Martha was never in Metropolis. So it just makes a little bit more sense that way. Did you guys like that they included Martian Manhunter in it and made it Harry Lennox, who was in,
I can see why they didn't have a major role for him, but they wanted him to play a part and like set him up to have a future.
Yeah.
So I mean, it makes that sense that way, I think.
Yeah, I liked it because they even set up like a movie for August about it, right? Didn't they say August? Right after the scene with Martian Manhunter at the end when he was talking to Batman.
He did have a scene with Batman. I don't remember what happened exactly after that.
Yeah, I do remember them together.
But if they were trying to set up a movie, then it makes sense that they would have scenes with him in it.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're on chapter 5, All the King's Horses. So in the original, I guess it was just Barry and Cyborg kind of got stuck digging up Superman's body alone. This one, they have Wonder Woman and Aquaman looking on.
Right, they were just standing there watching them work.
They still were just supervising.
Yeah, that's true. I noticed that too.
Oh, they added a whole scene here where, you know how they have to break onto that ship to bring Superman back, and so in this version, Cyborg hacks into Star Labs and makes it seem like there's some sort of like virus outbreak or some sort of contamination. It sets off the alarm, and then his dad's like, "Oh no, that's bullshit. It can't be," or whatever. In the original, they basically, I think, just sneak onto the ship, and there's none of this intermittent stuff with his dad and all that. The Snyder Cut introduces the Asian scientist Ryan Choi, who is a version of Ant-Man, or not Ant-Man, but the Atom in the comics, the same basic power as Ant-Man. So when Cyborg is like about to bring Superman back, he kind of has that vision of like things going poorly,
Right.
and like Wonder Woman dying and all that premonition, Aquaman die. That's something that was totally added for the Snyder Cut that is not in the original. I guess there's some banter between Superman and Batman that Whedon added that they got rid of here. Okay, in this version, Cyborg's dad basically sacrifices himself, not to destroy the mother box, so I guess like maybe it can't be destroyed, but basically just to heat up the core so that they have a way of tracking it to the...
Right.
Yeah, that
Reasons
seems-
unclear, kind of.
Yeah.
He was taking a leap there, like, they'll figure this out, right? I'm not dying for nothing.
Pretty frivolous with his life there.
But yeah, I guess in the original cut, he lives, but, you know, in this version...
Right. He theoretically heats up the core so then they can
Track.
track it or something
Yeah,
with
yeah.
satellites. I don't know.
The weird thing, and I don't know if they mentioned, like in the comics, like basically, Cyborg has a mother box inside of him, and he can just like create boom tubes wherever he wants. But so now we're to chapter 6, something darker. Lois Lane no longer tells Superman he smells good. I guess that was another weird bit of dialogue, and also when she asked him how it was to be resurrected, he says itchy in the original. So just like some bad dialogue that they got rid of. This was another difference I'm kind of glad they did away with. So in the original version, when they're having the final battle and everything, there's like this Russian family that gets put in danger. And I think they have this scene where the Flash and Superman end up saving them. It was, I don't know, basically to make him look more heroic or something, but it was totally like just unnecessary.
Yeah.
So the fight is longer, more brutal. So yeah, basically, that whole scene, I think, sequence where, like, you know, Batman's driving around shooting all the parademons and they're all fighting the parademons is just kind of longer. And, like, this scene is actually quite a bit different because, well, let me keep going because I think they might mention here. Cyborg no longer says booyah. Apparently in the original cut he says his famous catchphrase, and in this one they didn't. Okay, so yeah, Barry time travels to save the world. So that's not in the original cut at all.
Right.
It's very different because they didn't have that, you know, big, long, drawn-out fight where, like, you know, Steppenwolf and, what is it, like Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, you know, where they're all, like, batting him around and all that kind of shit. And Superman breaks his hammer and all that.
Right, they were kind of like kicking his ass pretty...
Yeah, once Superman shows up, they basically just run the train on him.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they didn't have Darkseid in the original, so they didn't have that whole scene where, you know, and Wonder Woman, like, chops off his head and it rolls it by Darkseid and he, like, crushes it with his foot. And they didn't have none of that.
Like, one thing during that scene is, like they're all prepping for the Flash. He has to build up this electric charge to hit the mother box or whatever, so Cyborg can get in. And so like he's pushing himself to the limit. Like he's got his charge, he's going, and he's like he ate to exhaustion or whatever. And then like he gets injured, right? And then like a few minutes later, like he has to get up and pull himself together. And he's like, "Oh, I got to go much faster. I have to go much faster. I have to go faster than the light."
Yeah.
Like you were just like busting your nuts to like go however fast you were going before.
Well, I think it was to maintain that speed that he was having like an issue with.
So he had to catch his breath and like
Because I felt like
and then
this
like
whole...
shake off this leg injury thing or whatever he had.
I was thinking that too, because yeah, like you're saying, he has that scene where he's like, "Cyborg, I can't keep this up," and then he like keeps going and going for a ways after that.
Yeah, he's like, I can't keep going. And then they're like, cut scene, they're fighting. I can't keep going. Cut scene, they're fighting. They're fighting. They're fighting.
like,
And then he gets like shot in the leg or something.
It's almost like the Chosen One scene from Kung Pao.
but time travel didn't seem too hard for him either. He was like, "All right, I guess I'll do it."
He's like, I got to break the rules. I got to go like much faster than the speed of light. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, here I go.
Yeah, it didn't seem like that big of an issue. Like, he should
It's
do
just
this
time
more.
travel. It's nothing, no biggie.
Yeah, I tried not to, but
The other thing I think would have
More
been
effort to not go faster.
the other thing would have been great. You know how that one guy is like trying to shoot him as he's like making his circle, and finally he does. I wish he would have done that Family Guy thing where he grabs his knee and he's like, Superman gets his iconic black suit and has a better entry in the final fight. So yeah, in the original, I don't think they did the black suit. He ended up getting like a traditional colored Superman suit.
Yeah, he had like a bunch of suits in his ship or whatever. He's like, I'm going black today.
And then there's the whole scene where basically, you know, Darkseid's like, well, I guess we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way or whatever, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's no portal, so they have to fly there in ships or something. So that's a upcoming movie.
Well, that's something I want to talk about when we're at the end here. And they had that scene. I was a little confused because, like, Steppenwolf ends up having this weird vision, and then he's like, "Oh, the anti-life equation is here on Earth," and I wasn't sure.
Right.
I guess the mother box like pointed that out to him or
Yeah.
something. I was a little confused by that. Okay, so now we're to the epilogue. The original Justice League end credit scene is added into the film here and dubs Arkham Asylum not a place for the insane, but one for the emotionally troubled. Okay. Well, a little more PC there. And then you have the whole scene with Batman and Joker, which of course wasn't in the original. And this one actually was just shot like last year, so this wasn't even something that was shot originally. They just did it.
Right, this almost feels like it could be an alternate universe story. And they had like a lot of meat on the bone. I felt like they were fleshing it out. Like, yeah, it feels like something they might try.
Yeah, I gotta say. So yeah, let's get into it. Would you guys want to see a continuation of the story if like somehow this is really, you know, insanely popular on HBO Max and they decide to and Zack Snyder's interested and everybody but probably Ray Fisher agrees to come back? Would you like to see a continuation of the story?
I mean, that part I think would be interesting. But the thing is, they just gave us like Superman's coming into the conflict. So like, is that going to be the end of the story, or is that the start of the story? And then like, how do you
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
how do you deal with that issue?
my guess is they'd have to write something clever to get him out of that bit, or maybe that kills them all, and then that's why it's up to Bruce to save Lois because Lois is the
Right.
key. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Batman's always got some tricks up his sleeve, so you could start with a big fight between Batman and Superman again. I don't know, but
I seen a tweet where like somebody was like, this scene between Batman and Joker just might be the best Batman Joker scene put on film, and someone was like, Batman says fuck and Joker says reach around, case closed. I did like that scene though between them.
yeah.
I would definitely like to see more of that. I really don't think there's a good chance of there being another one of these. I don't think Ben Affleck wants to be Batman again. I definitely don't think Ray Fisher wants to be Cyborg. But who knows? Who knows?
I'm here for it. Like if they make these movies, Flashpoint, whatever, all this stuff, that'd be great.
Oh, like you were mentioning, there's that scene with Martian Manhunter at the end with Bruce after he has the nightmare. So it says Bruce awakens from the nightmare of the future to be greeted by Martian Manhunter. He tells Bruce they need to find what Darkseid is looking for, an anti-life equation, before he does. The Martian Manhunter tells Bruce he realizes he has a stake in the world he's been silently watching for years. Oh, that's it on this article. God, there was another difference I was thinking of, but now I kind of forgot about it. See, anything else you guys kind of want to add, or character or scene wise that maybe we forgot to kind of cover?
There's probably something.
It's such a long movie, we probably did.
I tried to look up like who those old gods were, and like I know they mentioned like Zeus and Ares were part of that fight.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Right when I saw the trailer, I was like, "What the fuck are the Spartans doing in there?" But that was apparently Zeus dressed like one of the 300 characters.
I will say some of the CGI in this movie looked weird.
Yeah, there were maybe times.
Also, like this last scene we were talking about, where Martian Manhunter is talking to Bruce, I thought for some reason Ben Affleck looked weird in the scene. Like there was some kind of weird digital thing going on.
Well, when you said that, I looked at it. I felt like maybe he was green screened and like he looked crisper than the background. Like,
that could be it. There was definitely something with my eye was catching that was like, there's something weird. Oh, I know what the other difference was that they don't mention here is, so they have that scene where Deathstroke shows up on Lex Luthor's boat. Now, that was the end credit scene of the original cut, but in that original cut, their dialogue was basically Lex Luthor setting up, basically like creating an Injustice League to take on the Justice League. And in this one, he tells Deathstroke that Batman is Bruce Wayne. That's another difference between the two.
Another thing was like, oh, Lex Luthor escaped from this maximum security, whatever, and then like he's on this like $50 million yacht or something. You're like, how hard could this motherfucker be to find?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's comic book stuff. I will say, like, when Jesse Eisenberg was first announced to be Lex Luthor, I was like, oh, that's an interesting casting choice. I'm open to it. But I never really liked his Lex Luthor.
He never really connect. Because, I don't know about all the books. So, like, a fair number of them, like, he's like a big Kingpin character, isn't he? Yeah,
basically. He's like one of those characters that kind of has a finger in every pie and kind of knows what's going on, But, all right. What would you guys give as final 0 out of 10 score for Justice League, the Snyder Cut?
For me, the past does matter, so the other cut has an impact on this one. So because of that, it boosts it a little bit to 8.5 out of 10.
Okay. You?
I'd give it a 7. I thought it was decent.
Yeah, I would give it in like the 7 to 7.5 range. I'll go 7.2. Let's go in the middle.